How are you guys? Mick here from the Hop Cartel, back for another beer review. But before I get into that review, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been up to today. So I head down to Warehouse for a podcast with Evan from The Beer Drop. The Beer Drop's a new and exciting beer subscription company that's starting up, pretty local to the Lake Macquarie, Newcastle, Northern Sydney area. Evan's going to be building up those subscription boxes, so we have an advent calendar coming as well. I should say Evan, not we, but Evan has a beer advent calendar coming, launching in time for Christmas. There's other companies out there pretty much got theirs ready to go, launched, taking orders now. So within the next week or so, we'll see the website up and running. We'll also see that first subscription box being the advent calendar, ready to go. They are all beers, as far as I know from the conversation, local to Newcastle. Possibly later on down the track we'll have breweries the likes of Six Strings, Bay Road, apparently going to packaging as well. Maybe might see some stuff from Block and Tackle. Really needs to be concentrated around those guys that are, who are offering up packaged beers. So we had the things beer breweries we'll see in those boxes, subscription boxes, like your Styx, your Murrays, your Foghorns, your Malt and Hops there at Beresfield. A lot of these guys that I went over numerous times in the podcast, Hop Editions at the Hop Cartel podcast. Head over and check it out if you haven't. That's where you'll find the podcast that I've done with Evan from the Beer Drop. So we spent the morning doing that. Went for around about 45 minutes. Spent a little bit of time there discussing a few things. A little bit of discussion went on after the podcast. Probably some really good content come out from that. But from that post conversation from the podcast, there's some content to be opened up for the next podcast. So we'll catch up again with Evan and do a follow-up podcast. So we'll speak about how it's all going, any sort of changes he thinks need to be made. Spoke with Evan about dead ends. I think I don't think there's going to be any dead ends. There might be a few things that need to be changed. It's very well thought out. He's done his homework, has some really good support, and most importantly, the support of his family, and secondly, the support from all those local breweries. So talking in that podcast, he's going to concentrate down towards the local breweries, and try and create those subscription boxes around the local breweries. Get those subscription boxes out to some of those who may be who are willing to subscribe to those beer subscriptions. Get those beers out a little bit further abroad, nationally around Australia, down the track by the looks of it, and obviously get those beers out, get those beers into mouths of the people who aren't experiencing a lot of that. So it was a very good morning. We had a good chat. Like I say, there's some content still, plenty of content still there left to be discussed. Went in pretty raw and uncut with that podcast. It's like how to run, how I like to run it. I guess it all comes together, and the podcast went really well. So I've got a few audio issues to iron out. Obviously got to get a laptop that's not going to keep chucking tantrums on me. So I had to run without a laptop again this morning, connected to the phone. No real big issue. I just don't have the control over the audio as much. So of getting obviously the echo. We were doing the podcast in a warehouse that was pretty much just the bones of the business at the moment. So it's still in the obviously in the process of being set up. So podcasting from an empty space, you do get a bit of echo. I can't control that from the phone at the moment, so as far as I'm concerned, the podcast went really well. Sound quality a little bit down from what I'd liked it to be, but all in all, I'm very happy with how it went. Evan's quite happy with how it went, and yeah, like I say, we'll catch up again. So one of those beers I'm going to talk about in this review is the Styx Brewery Kumquat IPA. I had this at the Lantern Bottle Beer Festival. I'd had, like I mentioned in the other video on here on YouTube, I'd had a few stouts before that, going over and trying it. So I wanted to revisit the Kumquat IPA from Styx. So this is a limited edition. We're probably not going to see it again until the next Kumquat season. Kumquat is a citrus hybrid, quite small, olive size fruit. You can get sort of bigger ones depending on that, and believe it or not, a lot of people eat the skin and all of a kumquat, and it's not exactly a bitter sort of skin. It's the size of the fruit and the amount of juice and flavour that's inside it that balances out the bitterness of the skin. So skin and all, whole fruits went into making this beer. We'll crack it open. It's got the typical Styx brewery label, the big shark coming up with the skeleton swimming. Styx Creek runs through various suburbs here in Newcastle, from areas of the National Park at the top of Cohiba, known as the Fernley Loop or the Fernley Track, and that feeds all the way up to places like Redhead and Whitebridge and areas like that. So it all sort of links up, and this particular creek feeds back down, heads out towards the ocean, and Jeff and Annalee and the guys there at the brewery, they're sort of at the tail end of where that Styx Creek ends up. So they are man-made canals, but they are a creek that runs naturally into those stormwater drains and then feeds down into the Carrington Bay there, and feeding out into the harbour. So quite good. So they say good things come in small packages, and a humble kumquat is a case in point. Unassuming, olive-sized citrus fruit that usually makes their home in preserves, so kumquat jams and other sorts of I guess you could preserve sorts of stuff that you find it in. The grandmothers are probably quite active in the use of kumquats back in the day, and so on. This little flavourous, once steeped in our hazy IPA, makes for a burst of marmalade aroma and lovely citrus punch, and I think it describes the beer quite well, and it showcases that citrus fruit very well. So I'm going to crack this. Straight into my favourite glass, or one of my favourite glasses. It's almost like a sherbet, and we used to get these plastic bottles back in the day, tiny little bottles full of sherbet, and the lid's screwed off them, and they had like a ripply label or contour of the bottle, and it reminds me a lot of one of these ones we used to get, and it was like the orange flavoured one, and it was, as soon as you opened it, it had a really strong aroma. So it was a little bottle, say yay big, lid screwed off it, and it was soft and had sherbet inside it. So that's what it reminds me of, especially from the can. A little bit different from the glass. Once it's in the vessel, it's been poured, it's been agitated. That sort of IPA, the malty alcohol comes through. So taste is great. I'm liking this a little bit more than the Inside Running Pale Ale. Colour's good for an IPA, very common colour for an IPA. Nice thin white head. So the kumquats are there more on the citrus and sort of orange marmalade-y flavours, aromas I should say, are there more prominently on the aroma, on the palate. It's there as well, and that nice layer of bitterness coming over the back of it. So that citrus flavour, really nice. Slight amount of bitterness off the back with it. Nicely balanced with the malt, and like a true a fruity sort of IPA, a fruit infused IPA. It goes quite well. So I put this up there with the Brewdog grapefruit, and it was, I think, it's Sleep When You're Dead, the grapefruit IPA that those guys done. I do set this up there well with those guys. I really do like my fruit infused IPAs. And this one's definitely no exception. So it's quite limited. We probably won't see another run until the next season of the kumquat. They do need a fair bit of kumquat to do a batch. Being such a small fruit, and the actual shrub plant doesn't bear a lot of fruit, like most citrus. They have their on and off periods, and required to be cut back, and obviously allowed a season to develop again, and then the following season they fruit. So you will see a little bit in the off seasons, some every 2 to 3 years. That I've known people who have grown kumquats, but I've also known people who have a very nice hybrid kumquat that will fruit very vigorously year in, year out. So that's definitely one I'm going to put on the cards for brewing, kumquat infused IPA. Anyway, this is Mick from the Hop Cartel. Cheers for tuning in. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Head on over and check out the podcast, my little chat with Evan from the Beer Drop, and I really look forward to catching up with Evan again very soon, and also look forward to seeing you guys like, sharing and subscribing. Get on there, get involved. Don't forget, head over to Jim's Man Cave, J-Man at Charm Brewing, both on YouTube. You find those under those titles, Jim's Man Cave and J-Man Charm Brewing. Also head over, check out the Beer Drop, support Evan, a local, a really nice guy, down to earth, very well spoken, and it's got a voice for radio, that's for sure. So go on over, check them all out. Don't forget, World Homebrew Club on Facebook. Members are growing. Some new of the members have really strong involvement. Quite enjoying what's going on there, and excuse me, and yeah, plenty of avenues to come and check us out. We're all quite active in the home brewing side of things. Podcasts are taking off. like I say, a few little bits of equipment, extra equipment is probably going to need to be purchased. We'll get that sound quality up, audio to a pitch, and it's all systems go. Cheers.